And I think we are live.
ट्वीट भी रिट्वीट कर देता हूँ लाइव का.
And I think we are live, right? So, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to agileguru.youtube, something like that. And I have the pleasure of introducing two people, Mr. Akshay and Mr. Savinder. I'll talk about Savinder in a minute. And so Akshay is actually one of the biggest contributors to Agile Guru, my YouTube channel, or our YouTube channel, to be precise, because he has helped me put all these nice things which you are going to learn. And please confirm if you are able to see me. So, and let me know. And Akshay is actually based out of India, and he is doing internship, and actually he just landed his internship and he's going to start his new job very soon, which is good. And mm, and we have one confirmed person with saying that is one. Next comes Mr. I wouldn't call him Mr. Actually, I will call him Mr. Savinder, because he's more of a friend rather than Mr. And we have a similar background. We both used to work for Sensor Technologies, but and and we have a common friend whose name I cannot take, obviously, because it becomes personal. But Savinder is also my guru. Okay, I'm guru, but he's my guru, and we, why it means, because we share knowledge as part of our CDF ambassador. He also actually proposed me, and we do a lot of work over there. So everything is here. Today's format is very informal. I will be asking some questions. Akshay may have some questions, and Savinder is going to give you very nice real world examples. He may lie a little bit also, but that's fine. That's expected. So sit and enjoy. And also we are manning your live questions. So first 20-25 minutes, you will be able to, you'll be hearing all the predefined questions which we have, which we think is good. This has been prepared in conjunction with Akshay. And once we finish that, whatever questions you have, we will ask. We may even ask you to come online and ask the questions. So without further ado, by the way, before we go forward, if you want to know more about Savinder, you can always visit his LinkedIn profile. He has published some very good books, and of course, he's past of Devops Institute ambassador. So without further ado, here we go. Welcome, Mr. Savinder ji. Sat Sri Akal.
Thank you, Guruji.
So let's have some fun. And of course, this is a serious topic, but we're going to have some fun. Maybe to start off with, tell me something about yourself, your career history, and your current role. Maybe that would start us
out. Sure. So I did my engineering in the year 2000, and I'm BE Computer Science. So for the past about 22 years, I've been around the room. I have worked in large enterprises like Siemens PLM in the early 2000s. That was the time when we were building large PLM products, which used to take 48 hours to build on 4 parallel blade servers. And we had our own version of a continuous integration tool, which was homegrown, home built. Right. From there to in the last couple of years, I used to have my own consulting gig as well. I used to consult for enterprises, and one of my assignments given was from code check-in to going live in production. This should be less than 4 hours.
Okay.
So I've kind of been around the room for a while. I've worked in enterprises, I've worked in startups, I had my own little gig. So been around. And long before this thing that we now call DevOps was even called DevOps.
Yep.
We didn't even know what we were doing. And one of my first jobs in a company called MealSoft, my official designation in 2001 or 2 was called Build Jockey. Because that's what I was doing. I was building on 9 flavors of Linux and I think 4 or 5 flavors of Windows. That's
Thank
where I
God.
come from.
Yeah. Jockey means you were sitting on some gadhas then.
That's left for interpretation.
Oh, ghodas. Who don't know. Okay, please continue.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like you said, I'm an ambassador at DevOps Institute, community builder at CTF. I've also recently started my own YouTube channel. You can look me up.
Yep.
And I'm trying to merge DevOps and spirituality. That's my spin. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think to succeed in DevOps and in general in software, you need a lot of sanity up here. Because beyond a certain point, if this is not stable, shit can hit the ceiling very fast.
Okay. Actually, what you said is correct, Mr. Savinder, or Paji. That's what I call him
That's
anyway.
better,
Yeah.
That sounds too formal.
Exactly. Like Paji,
Yeah.
Mr. Paji, you can consider him as Mr. Ranchod Das, where he used to say, "अपना दिमाग है यार, pressure cooker नहीं है." So that is where,
Exactly.
and this is where I came into. Actually, we both used to work for Zensar, but we didn't have the opportunity to work together because I moved to UK. And but if you look at his views, it may be bit same, but at the minute also bit different. Why and all we will come through, but please, I request everyone who's looking to the video, listen to the end. Please don't stop, because people will think, oh, he's going to talk about only Jenkins or something. No, of course we are going to talk about technologies, but also why and the how and what it brings and what is for you and everything else, right? So to continue, of course, for people who are not on the call but are listening on my YouTube channel, please have your coffee, and if you have any questions, please ask, and we are recording it, so we may ask, even take some questions from there. Akshay is manning the questions. Okay, thank you very much. So to start us off, Paji, you see a lot of channels on DevOps, lot of things, lot of materials on YouTube or internet blogs. Can you describe some of the biggest myths or lies about DevOps, and what does DevOps bring from an organizational perspective?
Okay. All right. So I'll give you a real world answer. Like, I'll try and keep it as real as possible, right?
Okay.
So I'll start with your second question first. What does DevOps give to an organization? Right. And I'm currently based in India. I work for a bank remotely in Europe.
Yeah.
Right. And this was the exact question which was asked to me in my final interview round in that bank. And there was a lady who's heading the business side. Right. And I was a dotted line reporting into her, would have been, right? Basically, she was funding the transformation program. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the final questions she asked me was, she said, Savinder, we've spoken for an hour and a half. Everything looks great. I need you to describe me what will DevOps give to me in 2 minutes.
Okay.
If I bring you on board and if we run with this program, what will I get in 2 years? Describe to me in less than 2 minutes. And my exact answer to her was, I don't need 2 minutes, I need 3 words. And those 3 words are better, faster, cheaper.
Okay.
Over a period of time. In 2 years, 3 years. During those, it will get more expensive, it will get a shitload worse, and you will have a lot of pain. But if you endure this well, If you endure this fast enough, then I can give you better, faster, cheaper. So that's what an organization gets if you do DevOps right. And DevOps right is a big connotation because there are lots of layers underneath it. Right? It's unfortunately not a magic wand that you wave and say, hey, life is great. Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Bring in Savinder and it'll work. No, well, no, it's not.
Yeah. So that's my short answer to that. Now, to your first question, some myths about DevOps. Number one myth, DevOps is CICD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. You throw in some tools in there and, magic will happen. Unfortunately, like any other transformation, it's much more than that. It spreads across the SDLC, the software delivery lifecycle. And it starts from the way you are planning your product, even at that stage, at the inception stage, at the stage where you are creating mock-ups and designs, at the design phase, even before that it starts, and it continues all the way until your product is built, packaged, released, maintained, until it becomes obsolete. Through the entire life cycle, you have to do a bunch of things, and then you can say that I have done DevOps. Now, this is not just tooling, this is technology, this is process change, this is culture, people, process, culture, everybody talks about it. I'm talking about the same things, but multi-layered. Right? That's one myth. The second one, DevOps is dead, DevSecOps is cool, AI Ops is awesome. You will hear, no ops and multiple definitions of this. It all boils down to the same thing. It is not that in DevOps there was no security. It's not that. It's not that we found out yesterday that there is something called AI Ops. We've been doing incident management for donkey years. We've been doing proactive healing for ages. We've been doing auto scaling with or without cloud in some shape or form in VMware for 15 years. Right? So these are all buzzwords which will keep coming, which will keep going. The fundamentals of automation, the fundamentals of adding speed will remain the same. But because of the demand of the market, because of the way things change, because of maturity of tooling, at appropriate time, some aspects get highlighted, which is fine. But what I'm trying to say is don't get intimidated by all of this new shit going around. Don't worry. The basic, the fundamental, a build is a build is a build, a deploy is a deploy. Whether you deploy on Kubernetes or whether I deploy a Java war file, the core fundamental will always remain the same.
Well, I couldn't have put in better words. Like, tomorrow MLOps. Oh, good, MLOps. But ultimately, you're looking at the logs and telling what not to do. That's what it is. Exactly. And you look at the logs going, oh, by the way, looks like I need to have more capacity to do an auto scaling. Well, exactly. There is nothing called intelligence. It's artificial. Somebody has to decide. It cannot decide unless you put in the right telemetries and all those things, which will come into a little bit. Right? Maybe Akshay, you want to ask? Start us off, please. I look at the man at the thing.
Yeah. So, Paji, I want to ask, like, people are concerned more about, like, skills. So, on that, I want to ask a question. What non-technical skills are needed for a person to implement DevOps?
Non-technical skills. Okay, that's a good question. Now, the non-technical skill varies on your experience level. And the reason I say that, because your role in DevOps will change over a period of time. For example, if you are in the 0 to 5 years category, then your non-technical skill is, are you curious? Right? Are you asking the right questions? Right? Are you probing everything that you're doing? Right? Do you have the habit of taking up anything that you're doing, pulling it all apart, and then trying to assemble it back together. Right? That's at the initial phase of your career. Then as you start, maybe between 5 to 10, 12 years, it's more about the solution that you're building, thinking from a broader perspective, because you're not just solving a team's problem, an area's problem, you have to look at a slightly broader perspective. So do you have a broader picture? Do you understand the domain? Are you talking to other people? Are you talking to business? Do you understand the impact of what you're building? And then as you progress more towards becoming an architect or an evangelist, then it is more about communication. Can you talk to people? Can you figure out what they, for example, if you want to scale DevOps in an organization, right? It's one is the technology layer. The second layer is what objections do people have? Why are they not coming on board? Can you talk to people and identify what is going on in their head? Why they are not adopting a particular framework or a methodology or a tool? Can you bring people with 10 different opinions in a whiteboarding session and leave with some amount of consensus over a period of time? Can you bring a herd together? Can you herd the sheep together or not? Right? So those connotations change. But if I had to give you a one-line answer, one non-technical skill that you need to succeed in this field, I don't know the English translation of this, but it is a kida. It is a worm which you need to have somewhere at the right place, which makes you uncomfortable.
It's called an itch.
Right.
Itch.
It's called an itch. Yeah. Thank you so much for putting it correctly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the itch at the right place.
Exactly. Okay, not at the wrong place. Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So getting uncomfortable with whatever you are doing and questioning status quo. And a very simple rule I have for that is, if I am doing anything more than 4 or 5 times, I start to get worried. Is there a way I can do this better? Can I automate this? Can I give it to somebody else? Can I put a small process behind it? It is as simple as that. And that's where it starts from.
Right. Thank you so much. And apart from non-technical skills, what technical skills are needed for a person to implement DevOps? Technical skills.
So that's kind of a broad question, because it depends on what your background is, where you're coming from. But to answer that simply, you need a good understanding of the way software is built, software is packaged, and the way software is deployed. Now, software, whatever it means in your terminology, whether it's a .NET application, whether you're on the front end, whether you're on microservices, cloud, Heroku, whatever that means for you, or you're building a mobile app. But you have to understand the fundamentals. So let's say a lot of people talk to me about creating mobile apps, and it's cool. Yeah. So, but what happens when you open up Xcode? What happens beneath the surface of that? How does the Xcode command line work? What are the switches to that? I'm talking about those kind of things, right? What happens when you get a compilation error? Now, it's not about understanding the compiler error and fixing it, because that's not your job, right? But to at least have enough information to know that, hey, my build broke. Did it break because of a code error? Was it a configuration error? Was it an error in my setup? And if you think it is a code error, then being able to debug quickly enough to say, okay, I think this line change made by this guy broke the build. You need to have that much skill and depth, right? So that's around the overall underlying technology layer. Then depending on your role and your organization, it could get into the infrastructure layers, it could get into the cloud layer, it could get into the operational layer. That depends. But I hope I gave a generic enough framework of an answer. Guru, do you want to add anything on that?
Yes. I also suggest that, well, of course, for underlining is you need to have very good understanding of problem solving, right? Problem solving where you look at the problem and go, am I wasting money in this? Is this boring? Do I don't want to do it. If any of these questions are true, try to implement, as Savinder mentioned, put a process around it, automate it, but don't spend $1 million to solve a small problem. No, it has to be like if you are spending $100,000 on repeating the stuff, let's say uh, a person's salary, you should implement it at, let's say, $10,000, so that over a year it takes $10,000, because then you can improve it and make it better. And then once it becomes good, when people see it solving a problem, then the scope will begin to make bigger and bigger. And then people will also see the benefits. One thing I like about DevOps is the constant feedback which comes into the picture, where they say, this is doing this, that is breaking, because if you hide behind something, DevOps is going to rip you apart and go, no, because of the constant feedback. So a good feedback, automation within, as he mentioned, cheaper, because if you're going to spend something $2 million on a problem which takes you 2 hours to do it, no one is going to accept it for sure. And other concepts will be feedback speed, and also other things which we will discuss in a little bit, right? So, uh, if you want to sip a glass of water, maybe, yeah. All right. Uh, I'll start the next question, Akshay, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Yes? Yeah,
sure.
okay. Like, see, one of the means, I'm sure you know that, of course, this is part of that web channel anyway. And I'm almost okay. I'll give you good news in a little bit. But before that, I come. I'm sure you have also seen this question where people from different background wants to become development or want to become DevOps engineer, right? I don't like the word DevOps engineer, but we'll discuss that in a little bit. Let's say I want to switch from development to DevOps, or something like that. What are your thoughts about people who say that? Because I get those questions. I'm sure you get those questions a lot as well. What are your thoughts about those?
So I like to answer that in two ways, right? Are you talking about getting knowledge in that area so that you can become a better developer? Then it's a different answer. Or are you looking to make a career switch? And I need to make a career switch because I'm fresh out of college. I became a developer by chance. I've been a developer for 2-3 years. I don't enjoy coding. I don't think I can do this for 20 years. I can't code. So I'm looking in for alternatives. That's a different answer. But I'm a developer for 7-8 years, 10 years. I know what this thing is about. But I think I also need to know DevOps because everybody is talking about it. My organization is also pushing me to do that. That's a different answer. Right? Because this part of the thing that I want to know it to do my job better, you definitely should, because that will make you a much better developer. It will make you a much better operations guy. It will open up windows of opportunity for you to move, let's say, into areas like an SRE. Tomorrow, if your organization is going in that direction, it will make you a much better engineer, whatever the style of engineer you are.
Exactly.
But that is taking DevOps and applying it to what you are doing. Right?
Yeah.
The other part of becoming a DevOps engineer, I know Guru doesn't like it, but I'm still a proponent of having a DevOps engineer for a period of time in a team to enable the team to self-function. Just for that period. Right? And we can talk about that later on. But what I'm trying to say is if you want to move into this area, then it is learning things ground up. It is learning things like continuous integration, continuous delivery, all of that what we spoke about, and building up your profile in that. And the best way to do that is practically doing it. Your certifications all is great, but whatever language you are working on today, whatever skill you are working on today, just take that and ask yourself a couple of fundamental questions. What are the repeatable tasks that I do at my job? What is it that takes me most time? What is it that I keep repeating again and again? What is it that is costing the company a lot of money? Can I save that in some ways? And then find out which tool or which technology in DevOps it maps to and implement it in that area and showcase success. If you can't do that in your corporate environment, if that's not allowed, that level of experimentation, then pick up any cloud, AWS, GCP, whatever your organization is using, create a free tier account, and you will get $100, $200 to experiment, and that is good enough for you to start your own journey. Right? If you want basic CICD, go to sign up for GitLab. They have everything packaged in together. Take an open source project or library management or whatever, one simple project in the technology that you're familiar with and start applying it there and showcase that. And that's how you start.
Cool. And oh, by the way, I'm sending lots of talis also because you're perfectly aligned with everybody. Means the thing is, okay, I'm going to ask one question which is not on the list, but Archana is asking, if someone wants to do DevOps, what requirements she needs in beginner level. Let's say he's at a beginner's level. Like I'll assume that he or she is just new into IT industry, where
Fresher,
it's a fresher. Yeah, it's a fresher. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So let's start from there. So you fresh pass out of college, you maybe just landed your first job or looking at that. So you must have done your college project in some language. You must be familiar with some programming language. You ought to be, right? If you are in IT, some Java, .NET, mobile, something you would have created, right? Pick that up. Take that. So let's say .NET. You've done some project in .NET. Look for an open source project in that technology. Or let's say you've created a mobile app. You can take your app or take a native or an Android or iPhone, whatever app you want as Xamarin app, an open source one. And then read about how to put up continuous integration for this. Right? Now, whether you decide to use Azure and go Azure DevOps, or you decide to use Jenkins or Hockey app, whatever you decide, doesn't matter. The point is, you need an app. You need to study how to put continuous integration and delivery around this and create a pipeline. The moment you can do this, you are already at the top 40-50% of the DevOps people. Right? So experiment. Don't go and do a 6 months course on something. Not required. Start with the fundamentals. Pick up an application and say, okay, what is continuous integration? Look at 5 YouTube videos. Take up a course on Udemy or Skillshare. There are enough very good courses, very cheap there. Learn from there, implement. You will encounter a problem. So the thing is, don't see a YouTube video on how to set up continuous integration because you'll get lost. Pick up one tool, doesn't matter which one. So let's say you pick up Jenkins as an example or Azure DevOps. Then look up how to create a pipeline on Azure DevOps version this. Find that. You will get the answer, implement. You get stuck somewhere, find an answer, implement. And then pick your pipeline. And that's how you start, and that's how at the end of it, you will have something to show. You will have something to demonstrate, which will help you get a job. Because I have done enough interviews And to me, a GitHub link
Huh.
is 100 times more important than 3 certifications you show me. That's
Exactly.
why
Yeah. Okay. One
that's it. It's
question.
tangible. I can see it. I can touch it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can look at your code.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Didn't realize we have already passed half an hour, man.
Oh man.
Good.
Too
Now
much
yeah,
information.
okay. I think we have to cut down the detail of our answer a little bit, I think. Okay.
I'll also try to
Yeah, no, but we can continue. It's
get
not a
out.
big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one question from Ashok was how Salesforce CICD works with Azure DevOps.
How Salesforce CICD works with Azure DevOps.
Yeah.
Okay, now Salesforce is a closed system. What I mean by closed system is that within Salesforce, there are ways to build it, deploy it,
Yeah.
right? But today there are two proprietary tools which are specific for doing continuous integration for Salesforce. For example, AutoRabbit is one. Capado is another one. These specialize for continuous integration for Salesforce, right? And they sit on top of your Salesforce environment,
Okay, okay.
right? So, so they are built for Salesforce only,
Okay.
right? Although some of them can do other technologies now, but
Um,
the core is Salesforce.
okay, okay, okay.
Now, there isn't a strong use case. So this is Salesforce. You've put a system on top of Salesforce to manage the orchestrate the deployments,
Yeah.
right? Now, unless your organization is forcing you to run that through Azure DevOps, there isn't a strong need, to be honest,
Okay.
because these guys are self-independent. But what happens in an enterprise is maybe your organization is already invested in Azure DevOps and you're using that across technology stacks.
Okay.
And when you have a release, Salesforce is one part of that release.
Exactly.
You have some microservices, you have a backend, you have legacy, maybe you have mainframe, blah, blah, blah. Everything is getting orchestrated from Azure DevOps. In that case, there are APIs for all of these tools which you can run through Azure DevOps, which is fine.
Okay.
Which is what I have seen happen at some places.
So Azure DevOps in it's kind of a triggering system to deploy
Exactly,
some.
just that.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now, as for people who have listened to this one, is like if you want to move from a development side to DevOps, you need to be curious, you need to have knowledge and look at the problem and deploy it. Now, one more is given that development people write application and all those things, which is moving to DevOps is easier. I wouldn't say easy. One more question I have got from my channel viewers are what about system admins who have not come from a development or programming background?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And the first thing that I like to tell people of that genre, the first thing that is required is acceptance. Acceptance that your world has freaking shaken up.
Okay.
Right? And if you are a WebSphere admin in 2023, it ain't going to last too long. Because your application is already moving to the cloud. If you are an IAS admin today, my friend, you're in trouble. It's the hard, honest truth.
Okay.
The faster you accept that, the better it is. Because the underlying technology itself has changed. And more often than not, your organization is on some path to modernization.
Okay.
It could be today, it could be in 2 years, it could be in 5 years. But that change will hit you. Now, I'm not saying that system engineers all of them will be out of a job. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. Because in any large enterprise, your core system will probably remain in legacy for next 10 years, 15 years. But the size of that is shrinking. if today about 70-80% of your estate is legacy, I can bet you in 5 years that 80% will reduce to 20-30%. Maybe more, maybe less. Right? Now you have to realize that, and you have to figure out whether I remain in the 80% category or am I okay to live in the 30%. That's your call. And if you love your technology, if you want to remain in the 30, 20, 10% category, that's fine too, because you need people there. And we know what happened in Y2K time. COBOL program suddenly minted a lot of money. So you can take your bet there also. It's fine. Or if you're already in your, fag end of your careers, sure, you can stay there. But this first is realization that my world has changed, and the change is coming to hit you. That's the first. But the second thing is, okay, if I accept that the change is coming to me, before the change hits me, I should be ready to embrace that. And one thing which people in the system engineer or whatever we call this area is that they have what I like to call the wisdom of production.
Okay.
Which is irreplaceable skill.
Okay.
They know how their shit runs in production.
Okay. Yeah.
They know the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
What breaks, where I have to do, what file I have to patch. They know that shit. Which is invaluable in a large enterprise. The only thing you have to learn is you have been doing this by hand. How do you automate this? How do you take that knowledge and productionize it? That's the mental shift. It is not about learning a Python or it is not about learning a shell script. It is about doing that mental shift that, hey, I know I will, if I tweak this configuration, if I change this file, if I do that, it will solve the problem. I cannot continue to do this by hand because the technology is changing. The problem itself will be obsolete. Let me learn automation. Let me learn the new ways of working. Let me put automation behind this, which will make you a better system engineer, support engineer, whatever you want to call that. So to me, it's more of a mind shift, realizing that change is coming. Secondly, I will no longer be the hero that I am. I'm no longer the band-aid because the patient is shifting. And then technology, you will figure it out because you know what to do. Only the how part, that's easy. Right? If you compare yourself with a guy who's an expert at, let's say, Python programming or who's an expert programmer, the problem is the guy doesn't know what to do. You know what to do. All you need is the how part. If you decide what technology stack your organization is pivoting towards, pick that up, do a certification, learn things.
Exactly.
But as long as you have the production, the wisdom of production, you are gold, man.
Yeah,
gold.
Exactly. Fairly enough or finely enough, I was in development, but I'm sure you know that when you work for investment banks or retail banks, you're not only the developer, you are also the production support and you're the build engineer and do all those kind of stuff, which is invaluable because look at myself or okay, I'm a developer, but they don't treat me as a developer. They tell you as an SME because if something breaks, you are the first person to be called. Okay, sometimes you're called and they go, these will be MDs who have not done technical stuff and they'll be, oh, call Guru. And I'll go, give me 2 minutes and you just do for an hour and you get paid $200, $750 for nothing. Exactly. Because it's not how to do it because somebody can write the code, but where and when and how, which is where I want this production to be up and running now because the customer is not pissed off is what's important. Right? Yeah. So the wisdom of production is a good word I'm going to use a lot.
Sure.
Akshay, you want to ask the question? I think Akshay is frozen. Is he?
Yeah, I think it's frozen.
Okay, fine. what I'll do
He's still
then.
thinking about the answer.
I think so. He's like, अरे बाप रे इतना होता है क्या?
मजा आ
Yeah.
गया.
अरे इतना पढ़ना पड़ेगा लग गई अपनी तो. Okay, I think I'll ask the next question. I'll wait for Akshay to come back. Um, right. Uh, Now I'm sure you're kind of given the answer, but I'll ask so that people it becomes explicit. What trends are you seeing in technical and non-technical skills for the future?
What trends am I seeing in technical and
Non-technical
non-technical skills
skills
for the future?
for the future in DevOps, but
Yeah.
in DevOps only.
Yeah. So, so for a lot of organizations now, cloud is started. It has started to become the mainstream for non-cloud technologies also.
Okay.
So not just cloud native technologies. So for example, things like data lakes have started moving to cloud.
Okay.
So that's a different spin to things. Right? Now, a lot of legacy has started moving to cloud. I'm not saying legacy which is transformed to microservices. I'm not talking about that. That itself is happening for several years. But legacy, lock, stock, and barrel moved into cloud. Micro Focus has come up with a lot of solutions like that. Right? So cloud is no longer the domain of cloud native built for cloud technologies. Right? It's moving across the width of the enterprise. So that's one shift. The exactly opposite to that shift is people who went full hoopla on the cloud are now getting the hit of the cloud cost.
Exactly.
And they're saying this shit ain't so inexpensive. It costs a lot of money.
Exactly.
So they just went blindly on the cloud and put everything out there. And now suddenly, when the bill started coming in, it is in millions of dollars. And then you start rationalizing, hey, what is the cost benefit analysis to that? There is a method to the madness. You don't have to put everything on the cloud if you don't need that high level of resilience, that high level of concurrency. Not everything requires that. Not everything can be and should be put on the cloud. So the entire FinOps conversation has started picking up. The financials of putting things on the cloud. Right? That is another area which is picking up.
Okay. We have to be very. We have to keep our answer short because we have like.
Okay. I'll stop here.
Okay. And means Paji, it's not. I'm trying to interrupt. We can extend, but we have to be careful.
Sure.
Okay. Now, see, what you said was technical and non-technical, where ML ops or FinOps and all those kind of things. And actually, I had one question which I think you have answered, that what does the future hold for experienced engineers to grow their career, which is what you have kind of mentioned about learning, not only sticking to one tool like Jenkins or GitLab, look at ML ops or site reliability engineering, and don't be stuck within DevOps. Try to expand your views like into platform engineering or even business engineering, right? For example, you go, okay, you are doing this, but go to the senior leadership. Can we engineer your business processes as well, not only the technical bit? For example, use like IoT devices and go, we are not using bathroom for the time. Why are we keeping on the lights? That is a business engineering. You don't have to always have customer related products. You can go, okay, if you look at UK and Europe and US, now there are what we call carbon reduction requirements. So what companies are doing is bringing up this ops, DevOps into those where they go, it's sensors, and go switch off the light as soon as, boom, right? And exactly. So this is what we can do. So I'm not going to ask now. I think this is going to be the last question because we have one or two questions on us as well. Now, can you suggest, by the way, Akshay, I think, is having a lot of connectivity issues. So I think I may have stolen some of his questions, unfortunately. So sorry, Akshay, about that. Okay, one question, which is the last one we have, is you mentioned,
Yes, yes, you can, Guru.
yeah, see, becoming good is a relative question, right? It depends. But what do you think a person should read, understand, practice, and get certifications? Okay, but like courses you should go to, so that they become better. Because my view is, for I'm sure Akshay, you and me are of the people, we spend hours apart from our office hours on learning something new, talking about things, and going, वो सविंदर तूने ये देखा क्या? अबे ये तो मुझे
Yeah,
आता है, चल पढ़ाई करते हैं. That's what we
yeah,
do, right? अबे ये देख, अरे तू CDF में ज्वाइन नहीं हुआ, चल ज्वाइन हो जा. That's
yeah,
why. Because it's not that we are making money out of it. No. Thankfully, Savinder is a multi-millionaire, so we don't have to worry about it. I live in a small house, and my salary is paid by my missus, so, and she cooks all the food, so I'm safe. And I live in London, so even if I lose the job, government will give me some money to live. So I'm kind of safe. But that's not the point. Is how you become better. Do you have any materials or courses or books or even certifications you think which will help not only experienced people like us but also inexperienced people to become better?
Sure. So depends upon uh, what stage of your career you are at. But if you want to really start from the fundamentals of DevOps, start with things like Phoenix Project. Right? Phoenix Project will give you the concept and the business angle of DevOps.
Okay.
Very, very famous book. It takes a fictional company, and if you are slightly seniorish role, I'm sure you will pick up a lot of instances in that book which directly relate to your organization. So it tells you why DevOps was established, what is the need, what is the problem it solves. And then there is a next version of the Phoenix project. I don't remember the name. So I'm just looking in my bookshelf if I can spot it. So that name just skipped me. But it's the next version of Phoenix project.
Okay.
So that one. And then you can also look at the DevOps handbook.
Okay.
Right, which starts from business, but it then gets very, very practical. Right, and it gives you a insight of how DevOps is actually implemented. If you want to go to the core technical side, then Sonatype, who's the creators of Nexus, they publish reference architectures every year.
Okay.
So just look up DevOps reference architecture by Sonatype. And you will get a lot of DevOps reference architectures. They've been publishing them for about 7-8 years now.
Okay.
And those architectures are from leading organizations across the globe. So you will see a lot of different tools, technologies in those reference architectures.
Okay.
It will give you a good idea of what's going on out there. And then if you are looking to pivot into DevOps, or if you're already in DevOps and you want to scale up, become a DevOps architect, become a DevOps evangelist, you can also look up my book on Amazon. It's a very shameless plug, but I'll plug it.
No. See, my view is you have to invest in yourself. Means our knowledge has not, like, we are not born geniuses, right? Well, I'm not for sure. I'm sure Savinder is half born genius for sure. But my view is you have to invest to get some returns, because there will be zero returns if you don't invest. For example, Savinder has invested in books and thought process and leadership. Me, on the technical side, is more on setting up data center in my garage and buying some servers and writing some codes and coaching people. That's my side. There is no right or wrong, but ultimately you invest time and knowledge, and then you can become better. Sorry, Akshay, I think I'm pretty sure that I have stolen some of your questions because of network issues. um
Yes, yes, yes.
sure. Do you have
If
any other
yes,
questions
if
which
time
have?
permit, I can take one question from.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I want to take one question from chat.
Okay,
Muhammad
sure.
Imran is asking how to find some good projects for resume.
How to find some good projects for your resume?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, two ways of doing that, Mohammed. Well, actually, only one way of doing it.
Hmm.
So, find open source projects,
Hmm.
right? Whatever your technology you're comfortable with, look up open source projects and start contributing to them.
Hmm.
And that is a fantastic way to learn things. You also, if the open source project is active, you already have a community which will help you solve any problems that come in. And three, it will start building up your profile.
Hmm.
So if you do this for a couple of months, 6, 8 months, if you can contribute to one or two open source projects, you would have contributed to that project, you would have actual tangible code to showcase, and you would have made friends in the community who would have helped you, you would have helped a couple of people, and you can send a GitHub link to your next interviewer and say, hey, this is an open source project I made. These are my commits. This is the 5 defects I solved. These are the 2 enhancements I did. Nothing beats that.
Hmm.
Contribute in real life,
Exactly.
right? Add value. And today there are enough open source projects. If you're in college, you do things like Google Summer of Code, do hackathons, participate in those kind of things. Build up your competitive programming profile.
Hmm.
I'm very sure in the next couple of years, people will stop looking at profiles. They will only ask for your GitHub link because that's the only shit that matters.
Exactly. Right. And also means, okay, your GitHub profile is needed, but also my view is, in your resume, share your LinkedIn profile as well,
Yeah.
which showcases not only your technical but non-technical skills as well. People, I have this, I wouldn't say annoying, but similar words is, oh, I'm good at Jenkins, oh, I'm good at GitLab, I'm good at Terraform, oh, why am I not getting a job? No, that can be done by ChatGPT or something like that. No, what you need to understand is a, a context where saying this was the problem, I did this, and because of that problem which was not available, I did this, and the proof of concept of this one is in GitHub, but the problem it solved was, as you mentioned, if something is taking 48 hours to deploy, now you can deploy in 4 minutes, and I don't have to use my brain. I just have to click a button and go for a coffee or a sweet lassi. Because once you're a Punjabi, I'm sure you'll drink a lot of lassis and also lots of non-vegetarian food with makke di roti and sarson da saag. Waki, so now I think I have to come to Punjab now. So yeah, exactly. Now given that we have very less time, do you have any other questions, Akshay? I think Akshay is stuck. Yeah. Okay. So one question from Mohammed Imran is, I am from a civil engineering background, right? Um, how to find good projects for resume, which we have answered, and also to land my first job as DevOps engineer. So he's from a civil engineering background, so I assume he doesn't have much programming
Yeah.
background, and he wants to do something which will help him land a job. That's what he means, I think, because
Mhm.
if he was from a programming background, I'm sure he would have taken your previous answer as the answer. So it's
Yeah.
a kind
Yeah.
of a different question from a different perspective.
Sure. So, given that you don't come from a programming background,
Hmm.
you have to know enough uh, to get started in DevOps,
Hmm.
right? So, first, I would say spend some time learning the theory of it,
Hmm.
right? Get comfortable with, do some courses on Udemy, which
Hmm.
is fundamental of DevOps.
Hmm.
What is this whole thing about,
Hmm.
right? And I'm sure you have installed applications on your laptop.
Hmm.
Figure out how that is working.
Hmm.
Read a little bit of literature
Hmm.
because you're not coming from a software background,
Hmm.
right? Understand what is software, understand what are system files, maybe even do a course or two
Hmm.
just to get you comfortable with the fundamentals.
Hmm.
Definitely, if you're a novice, learning Linux is a very good idea.
Hmm.
Right? So there are hundreds of places out there where you can do a good quality basic getting comfortable with Linux
Okay.
because that will help you.
Hmm.
Right? So get comfortable with that. Read the theory of what is computer systems, how comfortable you are with that. Learn about registry,
Hmm.
basic concepts like that. Learn up about that,
Hmm.
and then start looking at what is DevOps.
Hmm.
So build yourself from grounds up,
Hmm.
but base the foundation on the fundamental layers
Hmm.
of what is software engineering, what is an operating system, how does Linux work,
Hmm.
because you will need that knowledge.
Hmm.
But whatever you study, try and apply it practically.
Okay.
Don't do a 6 month theoretical course because that is not going to help you,
Okay.
right? So try and identify a course which has got a lot of practicals, run commands,
Hmm.
and then, as I was saying earlier, try and participate in open source projects.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of open source projects are simply UI level defects also,
Hmm.
right? Like in this screen, I want to change the layout or I want to move the
Hmm.
position of buttons and all that. You don't need very strong technology skills to do that. A
Hmm.
lot of them are drag and drop also.
Hmm.
You will get the entire experience of creating a pull request, having somebody review your code,
Hmm.
getting that code merged in. You will get that experience.
Hmm.
It is invaluable.
Hmm.
So, as early as possible, start contributing to open source projects.
Hmm.
Your level of contribution might be different, but that's
Hmm.
okay. A lot of people need help with documentation.
Hmm.
You can do that part,
Hmm.
right? You can look up a software and say, okay, I can help you create the README for this. I
Hmm.
can help you create release notes for this,
Hmm.
which is core English,
Yeah.
which you can do, but it's related to technology.
Yeah. Means I have seen like for the company I work, do it. We have a person called technical writer
Yes.
who I'll tell you, Amazon pays 30% of their time on documentation
See,
because because if you don't write the documentation of your own products, it's almost nigh impossible to use them. So one of the
correct.
things you need to, if you're from a civil engineering or any background, you need to you can do things like technical writing or even case management. For example, I got this customer solution
Yeah.
documentation where, oh, we got this customer because of this product and this product, together we got this thing working, like solution documentation. All these things doesn't need technical. And one also
Correct.
thing which I, as guru, or is
Mhm.
finding good mentors,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like for example, my mentor is, okay, half mentor is Savinder because I can't take much of his time because he's based out of India, and then by the time it's evening time, he is busy. But he works for a European bank, so I think I can leverage most of his time.
Yeah.
But just don't go with the problem. That's not mentorship. That's like asking to be spoon fed. Don't do that. What you can say is, oh, I had this problem. I think these are the potential solutions one, two, and three, and I'm not able to decide. Or when I try this one, it's not working. When I try this one, so you go and ask for mentorship where you go, I tried this. What do you think? And they may give you some feedbacks and say, maybe all these threes are okay, but they are not better. Maybe try that one. but don't expect your mentors to write the syntax for you. Correct? What's your view on that, Savinder?
Oh, perfect, perfect. Completely agree with you.
Okay.
Mentorship is asking for guidance, but you have to travel that journey.
Okay.
That's what it is. And if you want, anybody has any questions, if I can help anybody, you can lick me up on LinkedIn. My the best way to reach out to me is send me a message on LinkedIn, and I will respond as soon as I can.
And what I will do is later on in the channel, I'll give you a LinkedIn profile and also your YouTube where they can ask you questions over there also, so that it's and somebody is saying hello Paji, but I think we are run out of time. Oh, okay, and we are just about exactly on time. Thank God we were exactly, we delivered on time, right? Okay, and good feedbacks, I'm sure. And so any last minute gyan which you can give, which will help us all, that would be great.
So, closing thoughts.
Yeah.
If you are in this call, don't get intimidated by DevOps, please. You might hear a lot of gyan, you might hear a lot of wisdom, you might hear a lot of names, technologies thrown at you. Don't worry about any of this. Figure out where you are today. Be honest about it, because you know your true place. Nobody else knows it. So accept that reality and then figure out where you want to go and start walking in that direction. One step at a time, one day at a time, one tool at a time, one technology at a time. And I'm sure you'll get there. Don't let anybody scare you. We all have made mistakes. We all are a result of our mistakes. That's why we are here. But start walking. Don't just stand there and agonize the shit out of things. Don't do analysis paralysis, please. Start moving, and the right people will come into your lives and they will solve your problems. Just start walking.
Yeah, Melvin has said it correctly. Gyan mat dena, tension mat lena.
There we go. Exactly.
That's a very good approach. So, dhanyavad Paji, unfortunately, or now Akshay is in full gloom now. Any last words from you, Akshay, or any things from you?
Not a last question. Just I want to thank you, Savinder Paji. Like I have seen your many of the videos on YouTube. I got many of the insight, and it's my honor to be with you here, asking you questions with Guru. And yeah, thank you so much. Like I just want to tell that I am just currently got an internship for 2 months of DevOps. So just you can give me some advice on how I can utilize that better. It is like project based internship on which I have to work on 2 3 projects in the team. So how I can better utilize that.
So I have only one target for you, Akshay. You have to do such a kick-ass job in these 2 months that you should become irreplaceable. Eat, drink, sleep in the freaking office. Learn everything that you can.
I think he's stuck. I think आपने कुछ ज्यादा बोल दिया तो उसकी फट गई. अरे ये क्या बोल दिया इसने करके. Okay.
No, I can relate because before that I also did UPSC preparation. So उसमें मैंने बहुत दिन रात एक करके जो आप बता रहे हो किया है. So I can do that.
You know the drill there.
Okay. Cool, guys.
But best of luck and we can chat.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Absolute pleasure. मजा आ गया आज. And I'm sure there will be more videos and where we will be bringing in more people and more good people like Mr. Savinder, where we can learn, and I'm sure we will see each other in the near future. So thank you very much, guys. Maza aa gaya. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye bye.